You're running a multi seven-figure business selling copiers. Is that correct?
I am, yeah. It's funny when you hear it like said out loud, but yes, I am.
Today, I have the pleasure to have Anya Krebs on our podcast. And Anya, you and I got to know each other within an accelerator program because you are the CEO and founder of Office Space Copier, which remarkably, you are one of the very few women owned copier companies in the United States. You have established a non centralized approach to selling and maintaining copiers. And by doing so, I think you have turned what some might consider a mundane, ugly, or even boring business into a thriving venture. And I know that was possible because you have infused into your business your personal twist, your emphasis on agility, adaptability, and most importantly, outstanding customer service. So it is my pleasure, Anya, to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you, Shankar. I'm happy to be here.
You're running a multi seven-figure business selling copiers.
I am, yeah. It's funny when you hear it like said out loud, but yes, I am.
I love it. But this is so beautiful because it just proves that you don't have to be in like a sexy coaching business to be a multi-millionaire founder. But let's go back. How did you even get the idea to start this business? Were you in the copy industry prior to this?
So I started Office Space Copier just about almost 5 years ago. But really, at the end of the day, I completely by accident got into the copier business about 20 years ago. So I accidentally quit my previous job. I know I'm supposed to have a job before I'm supposed to quit one, right? I have to have that lined up. But I didn't have one lined up. So that was Monday when I accidentally quit. And by Wednesday, I was selling copiers at Toshiba.
Wait, but how
And
do you accidentally quit a job?
right, I was talking to my manager, who is really by far one of the greatest human beings that I have ever met, and I still keep in contact with him, Danny Calvio. He's amazing. But I was just talking to him. I was selling produce to chefs and different restaurants all throughout San Diego. And chefs, they like to call you at 4 in the morning and also 11 o'clock at night. I was doing that for years. And I was just having a conversation with him one day. I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I was like, but bring somebody else on. I'll train them. I'll teach them and tell them everything I know. And I'll give you about 3 weeks. He's, Anya, you're in sales. I have to let you go today. I was like, oh crap. I didn't really think about that. So I hung up and I was like, I better find a job. So I just started calling people in my network. And this was on a Monday. By Tuesday, I had some interviews. Wednesday, I was selling copiers at Toshiba.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, it's really the power of my network that helps me get everything done, right? Then 20 years ago when I was doing that, and I had no idea what I was doing. I hated everything about it. That's what I did know. I hated selling copiers. It was the worst.
Obviously, I know you a little bit. Office Space Copier is the solution for everything that you hated about the copier industry, which I think is phenomenal. Tell that story of like how you got there and like what you started to see that was really just driving you insane.
Yeah, so I showed up to Toshiba, my first job, and I look at my new boss and I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? Because you have to go door to door and sell these things. So I was like a cold call? He's, yeah. And I was like, oh man. It's like, will you go with me? He's, oh, I hate cold calling. Right. And this is my new boss and my brand new like industry. I've never done it before. And I was like, oh, crap, what have I done? Yeah. So I was like, okay. So I did the cold calling thing for about a week and I haven't done it in now 19 years. I cry. It's not my gig. It's not how I sell. It's not how I communicate. So I had to figure out how to do it. So in my first year, I decided to start networking and building my network. And in the first year, I made President's Club in performing, but I hated everything about the industry. And I'm going around and I'm selling my first deal, and then I'm getting phone calls and I'm like, how come our cost increases? Or we decided not to do business with you guys again, and you knew that, but you never told me about the automatic renewal, and now I have to do business with you for an additional year, right? And as a sales rep, nobody teaches you what those things are in the contract, and I was floored. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to call anybody back. I didn't want to send an email. And I'm like, then I'm going to my boss going, what is this? And then I did a little bit of research. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to get these guys out of it. So I would find ways to do it. So eventually I just figured out what the contracts look like. And I would have never brought an owner or a manager to a closing appointment in my entire career. And before I started Office Space Copier, because I would just tell them, okay, flip over the lease, look at line 2B. It says your contract's going to automatically renew for an additional year. Cross it off and put month to month. And then I would tell them, and I was like, and then go down about halfway through the page and you're going to see that your service contract's going to increase from 10 to 20% per year. Cross it off and put 0%. So I would educate and teach our customers on what it is that they needed to do. And then I would go to the office and I would process the paperwork. I would take the admin out to lunch once a month and just make things happen. And it was just me because I wasn't comfortable with it. And yeah, we were bonused on what our contracts look like. So I just took the lesser bonus every time, right? If you signed a contract and you didn't have automatic renewals, you would make 20% of gross profit versus 25%, right? But I didn't care because I had to sleep at night and I had to do what was right. So I just balance it off. I think the reward is bigger from doing the right thing and talking to my customer versus making an additional 5%. And I think through that, I made thousands of percent more, right? Based on the reputation that it created. So that's how I got around all of the things that I didn't like, right? And so when we built Office Space Copier, I don't have any of that in our contracts. So even if when we have our sales reps, like you don't have to teach your sales reps how to sell against it. It's just part of our contracts. Nobody has to guess what the right thing is to do because we already have it prepared and set up. Our contracts don't have any hidden things that make you feel funny inside. And when you find out about them, you're not mad. Right?
How long before you actually started Office Space Copier did the idea kind of start? Because it doesn't happen one day to another. At least in my experience, you start to dream, what if I could do this business? What if I could do something that like, this is the culture? How long was that kind of ruminating for?
Gosh, I didn't know that I wanted to start my business. I had no idea. I knew as a sales rep, I knew I had to do something, right? I was really fortunate and I made an incredible living being a sales rep. So it was the tax change and the tax law that made me go, what am I doing? I had paid, even though I was a sales rep for another company, I also have this belief that I'm responsible for my own sales, right? It's not up to the company that I work for to pay for my marketing, to pay for all of my things, to help me get leads, right? You're your own business inside of another business. So how do you capitalize that and what do you do? So I was paying for all of my networking, marketing, lunches, all of my things. So the cost to do business for me, even though I was working for another company, was 50 grand a year. Right. And I don't get the benefits of the tax write-off working for somebody else. And if I were to make more money, then I was actually going to make less money because of the tax bracket and the tier to go up.
So you started making too much money as a salesperson.
Yeah, then you've
they
got to
hate
set
you.
it up, right? I can't wait for the day for our sales reps to make more money than me because that means that we're rocking it and that we're doing a really good job. And I would help them figure out how to make more money from a tax perspective so I can keep them. Right? That's the whole idea is some business owners have a really hard time with paying their top sales reps more money than they make. For me, I invite it, like bring it.
That would be
right?
awesome.
And let me help you structure it is to where you don't have to go start your own, but we can support you in your best efforts to make the maximum amount of money.
I never understood that either. And even some companies have like caps that I've heard you can't make any more than this. What do you expect them to go do? They have the one skill you need to be in business. Selling. They don't need you.
They don't, but I do understand it now from both sides, right? Like my base salary was $28,000 a year. So if I didn't sell anything, that's what I was making. So and that doesn't increase. They're not going, ooh, gosh, you did a really great job. Let me increase your base. No, if you want to raise, go sell something. right? That's the whole idea. Now companies are switching is where they have these massive bases of 80, 90, 100, 150,000 a year, and then small commission. Sales reps are incentivized by money, right? So how are you going to add that if they have no kind of grit or fire under them to increase? It's a interesting psychology. But for me, I had to do something different in order to financially make it work. So that's why I started Office Space Copier. And I was like, and what an amazing start. I get to do all the things that I didn't have the power to do. And now I no longer have to sneak around and go, hey, process my paperwork. Yeah. And never mind all those X's on the back page. It was.
How long did it take you to get your first client? Because this is something that I think a lot of top sales reps and consultants, they underestimate is their network. Most of the times their first client they already know or are already tapped into in their network, and sometimes they just hear that you started your own thing and they're like, "Hey, I really liked working with you." So how did that happen?
Yeah, so it happened quickly. I just let everybody know. I think that people underestimate their network, like you say. Even making a simple post on LinkedIn to say, because I had great mentors and other people that I worked for all along the way. And just thanking your previous employers and who you worked for the experience and for the mentorship, and that you're super excited that you have now started your own so you can take all of those things that you learned along the way and now you have the power to make it even better and greater. People get excited about that and they want to support you. You don't have to say, oh, I quit my job or I got fired from my job, I'm starting my own. Turn it into a positive of all the things you learned along the way that people trained you for and taught you. If you pay attention to it, you have all the tools that you need to get started. And most importantly, all the things that you don't want. For me, I didn't want contracts that made me feel funny that somebody was going to sign. I didn't want any of the, if somebody called me, I don't have to go, ooh, it's so-and-so calling me again, right? And you're nervous to answer the phone because you don't know what you're going to get. I don't feel that way at all. When people call and I know that there's challenges that are happening, I'm excited to take the call, right? It's another opportunity to fix something you didn't know that was wrong, or we all have our days, right? So it could just be the last straw that broke the camel's back, right? And it happens to be a copier thing. So if you set it all up exactly how you want it, it's your life intent and you get to have the power to create it. But your customers are right there waiting for you. If you did a good job on all of your previous time, right? That is super important. You can't just be a successful sales rep and go, oh, I'm going to start my own and now they're going to come. They are if you do all of these other right things when nobody's watching, right? Are you making all the other right decisions? And are you an advocate for your customer, whether they're your customer under your own company or not? I think that's what people are looking for.
Making the right decisions in your field was something that you fought for, to be in a place where you could even afford making those right decisions. And I know that you got yourself in such a situation because you implemented a very different approach. You got yourself in a situation where you don't have to sell what you need to sell, but what it is that they exactly need at that point in time. And I think that is very powerful. Would you explain to us how that is possible, how you can have that unfair advantage to your competition?
Sure. So how the copier industry works is you select a manufacturer and then you select a region of where you're going to sell them, right? That's not who we are. Right? Our network is across the country and our customers, just through word of mouth, we've built Office Space Copier. 98% of it is based off of referrals. And we're currently doing business in 9 different states. And how that worked was certain manufacturers in the middle of Kentucky aren't good, right? So if we chose a manufacturer and that's the only thing that we can sell, then our customers are stuck with anything that we have. But based on how our company is built, we choose based on who's got the best service near them, what products do they have, because copiers now, the greatest advantage is they all do the same thing. Everybody's got research and development. Everybody's got all the right product, right? They copy, print, scan, fax, and they break at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. That's the deal. So it's
Or
who do
right
you
when
call?
you're printing out a book or something.
Yes, and you're putting out a book or you're putting board meeting stuff that you need, right? It all happens inconveniently. And listen, we have service issues. That's why copiers come with service contracts because there's supposed to be service issues. But calling somebody and knowing that they're going to take care of it and fix it and do it, that's like the true aha, right? That's the kind of exciting part. So yeah, our customers get the product best for their needs and their workflow, not based on what do I have in our inventory and what do I have in our warehouse and what do we have to get out of here and what's my commitment to the manufacturer because really I'm going to sell them something bigger than what they need because I've got to hit that quota. There's too many other strings attached to it that easily make you lose sight of what is best for the customer. Because if you've got the manufacturer all here listed with all of their needs that have to be met, and your customer needs are over here and this doesn't match, then you talk them into something that fits in this box. It's all where are your intentions and who comes out on top.
Just goes back to always do what is best for your customer. And I know that the reason why I have you on here is because I know that you live this. Most companies will say, oh, yeah, we only do what is absolutely best for their customer. And the reality is that when it comes down to it, they don't, especially the majority of the time, but you actually do. So you said that your business is 98% referrals. And then I also have something that you have written in your about section on your LinkedIn, which is that Office Space Copier enjoys a 100% client retention rate. How is that possible?
Unfortunately, a couple of our clients had gone out of business, which I
So
always hate.
98%.
So we're at 98% because two of our facilities went out of business, which I hate seeing that, right? Because I know that your blood, sweat, and tear goes into your business and seeing another customer go through it, I hate it. But yeah, even with that, they personally guaranteed the copiers, meaning that the leasing company will get those funds and they're going to go after the customer and get it. But since we knew what was happening with our customer in that instance, we helped them place that equipment somewhere else in one of my other customers. So it relieved them from that financial burden.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, that's the benefits of working with us, right? It's if you tell us that you are in a problem or if you tell us that you have a challenge, the likelihood of us figuring out a solution for it is super high, right? I want them to put their kids through college, not pay off a copier for a business that it didn't work. They're going to have to pay that money. But if we can put it somewhere else, the owners of that company and the employees of that company, they're going to go work somewhere else. How
And,
awesome would
and
that be?
and look
With
at
all the
the irony is even though if it went from 100 to 98%, and that's out of your control, right? Because they went out of business, it's still 100% satisfaction because they're probably like, thank you, Anya. You just saved me from having to pay. I will refer to you for the rest of my life. I'll give you a positive testimonial. I'll do
yeah.
whatever it is. But the fact that you just relieve them from that, it's still positive relationship.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome. Yeah. And what if one of us ever were stuck in that predicament one day, right? We just all need a little help. And if we can just be that one person or contact, then yeah, that's exciting.
Another thing that you've shared with me before that will blow people's minds is that sometimes you do free service calls for competitors just
Yeah.
because the customer needs it. So, talk about that a little bit. And then let's talk about how, if you're always customer centric, like how do you scale that, especially when you're doing service calls sometimes for competitors? And let's talk about that first because that's just mind blowing.
Yeah. So we partner with IT companies, right? They're a great resource for us and partner because we decided several years ago we are not going into the managed IT space. So we can be true partners to our IT companies. And when they call and they say, hey, a customer of ours is having a problem with their copiers and we're not their current vendor, we get a copy of their invoice, we find out what's going on with the equipment, and we call the service provider on their behalf, place a service call. We ask specific questions so we can then, as their advocate, get a better idea of what's actually happening with the equipment. Is it just a normal service call? And sometimes they just don't know how to navigate the phone call or who to call. So by us doing that for them, we get a better understanding of what's actually happening at their account. And then they don't have to feel so stressed about it. How we scale that is we have all of who to call and phone numbers. We just have been doing this business for so long. We know how to effectively and efficiently do it. And it's also, we have our dedicated support team. That's what they're here to do, right? They're here to make sure our customers are to be taken care of, even when it doesn't financially benefit us. So if they're 2 years into a 5-year contract and they need help placing a service call, fine. Because you know what's going to happen year 4 and 5? They're going to call us when they need help with replacing their equipment. Because we already know what their account looks like, and we're going to find ways to make it better. But we can't guide customers just based on thinking we know what it is that they're going through. And 90% of the time we don't. A simple phone call, even to place a service call, gives you so much insight to a customer, but it also helps you build that relationship with who you're helping.
I don't
Right?
care what it takes. I don't care if I have to fly to Texas. You're creating a customer retention course at some point. Like how literally, like how to just build a business that's customer centric. Like ask Sean Carr, when I go to Texas, I don't care if we have to do a pit stop
Yeah.
and shoot some videos, but so many small business owners need to hear this because it sucks when you buy from a small business, like you want to support them, and then the delivery is just not there. So then you go someplace like Amazon or a big company that you necessarily didn't want to go to, but it's just the experience is not there sometimes, and they shoot themselves in the foot because of it.
Man, I is where I've even had to change my internal perspective. I no longer go with the cheapest bid anymore on any vendors that we choose, right? It's and friends that say, "Oh, I'm going to help you out." I don't want your help, right? It's
Oh, I'm
like,
good. I'm
no,
good.
I want to be a paying customer. I want to be a full paying customer because I want the experience of all of it, right? Yeah, and cheaper or less expensive is not less expensive because my hourly time is high and so is yours and so is our employees. And then if you think about if you've got your employee for 3 hours trying to figure out an issue, and then you've got the time of all these other people involved in it, now you can be up to $1,000 in a day of cost, and now you've got 6 people in a meeting to talk about something, and it's just do it right the first time for a little bit more and the experience will be so different. Cheaper is not better.
Anya, I know you're very meticulous about how you track performance in your business. And when you speak of outstanding customer service, what are typically the KPIs that matter for your partners that would define outstanding customer service?
Yeah, gosh, my competitors, that the other thing is I have to be very grateful for my competitors, right? They make my job easy, so it's kind of nice. The one thing that we do track or that's super important is one, if a customer reaches out to us and they have a machine that's not being monitored and they ran out of toner and it's an emergency, right? Or if somebody has a service issue and we receive the email, we have less than 30 minutes to reply to them. Right? We do that over email, but also it's done by a phone call. Because what's happening is now that there's so many automated responses to anytime you place a service call, anytime that you call somebody, you get the quick, somebody will get back to you in 24 hours. Well, that's annoying because you don't know if it's actually being taken care of or not. So our response is you have to call and then follow up with an email within 30 minutes. The other thing is that what we do for customer service is that even if you spoke to the customer the day before, and then the next day is the 45-day mark, we reach out to all of our customers every 45 days, no matter what. Because our customers, the only times that they hear from us is when they have an issue, because that's why we have service contracts, or they get our monthly invoice. Those are two negatives that they hear from our company once a month. So every 45 days, it's reaching out to them. We call it just because, right? Is there anything that you need? How was your Travis started last month? Is he doing a good job? Can we support him in any way in his efforts, right? So just putting in those little things is enormous. It's huge. People care and
I
they
want
pay
to
attention.
start implementing that. So the way that you track that is like you just do it in the CRM and there's like a trigger that are you triggered the day of or like a couple days so you can start to think about it?
How our customers are broken down is that it's done on Tuesdays. So we take all of our customers and we break it down because you don't want to reach out to everybody on a Tuesday. Because what if 10% respond saying, hey, we need something? You need to be able to keep up with that and efficiently and quickly, or else it doesn't fall in with our when we're going to get back to you. So we take all of our customers and then we break it up evenly on Tuesdays of where they're going to go. And then inside of your CRM, you can create a brand new template. But then on the last line, that's where you enter in the, hey, how was the baseball game? Or hey, how did Travis do at work? And it's really everything else that looks like it's created for them, but really it's a template to get you started because you have to make it efficient. But you can tell that it's not written and
Not
sent
just
out.
like
It's not,
generic info, like you
yes, it's not
remembered
generic.
the fact that you remembered that there was a game, or like I know that your
Yeah.
son is getting married. Just the fact that
Yeah.
shows that you were paying attention.
Yeah, it's huge. So inside of our CRM, there's a little place that we have notes. If somebody called in and they make some sort of reference to something that's personal or even something that we should keep note of for that 45 days, you just type it in there really quick. So whoever's doing the reach outs has a place to pull it from. And even if I didn't have that information, but say Casey on our support team did, how awesome is it in there that I can put, Casey, let me know that you had X, Y, and Z come up. I hope everything's okay. Do you need anything? Because then it's, oh my gosh, you guys are even having that conversation internally. Are you good? And I think it makes a huge difference. But then on those 45 days, you reach out, but you have them broken up over that 6 week time period of all of your customers. So Tuesday is our dedicated day to send out our 45s.
I love it. And what type of IT company do you partner with? What are the requirements? And because obviously the bigger you get, the more maybe qualitative clients, or you're just getting more niche in terms of who you partner with. So explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So we like to partner with kind of boutique style IT companies. And one of the things, you can't quite make it too far into the conversation if we don't see eye to eye as far as our foundation, right? So our foundation as far as who we are and morally who we are and what we think is the right thing to do and what they think is the right thing to do, that has to match. And if that doesn't match, then really we don't go on to the partnership, right? Because really we're just an extension of the IT company and vice versa, right? And so everything has to line up. And same thing with IT companies as to where I feel about the really large copier companies too. You can't get much done if you don't have access to the right people. Right. So we're connected on Microsoft Teams with all of our IT companies and all of their engineers. If their engineer is on the phone and they have a question about a copier, they can send us a message on Teams and we reply back within several minutes. Even if it's just a, hey, I'm on a call or we can't catch you right now. Can I call you in 20 minutes as soon as I'm done? Right. It's even something as small as those interactions helps the IT companies and their engineers massively because they want it off their shoulders so they can move on and do what they do best, which is take care of important problems in the IT space.
I think it's very smart also to use the channels of communication that they use because it just makes them feel like you are an extension of their team, which you are. And
Yes.
it makes the communication that much easier. And we know the speed of communication to help the end customer in the quickest way that matters so much in what you do.
How great is it if you call your IT company and you tell them that you're having a copier problem or a printer problem and you're on the phone with them, they send us a message on Microsoft Teams and then the copier company calls them within less than an hour and say, I'm so sorry you're having issues, let's fix it. What do we do?
Yeah,
Right?
that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just taking the resources of all the information that's coming in and prioritizing it. It's everything to do with the customer, and then we'll take care of all the other stuff in the back.
Yeah.
But just talking to somebody and communicating with somebody to let them know you've got it is huge and really simple, right?
Yeah.
When you have to think, what am I doing today? It's like taking care of the customer, right? That's my job today. That's our everybody's job in the business. That's their job today. What's their job today? Making sure that the customer is taken care of. Oh, and then I've got to do this report or there are the daily activities and running the business stuff that is annoying, but if all I had to do is take care of the customer, I'd be stoked.
That's something that stands out with you because you are the CEO and owner and founder of the company, But I like how you often say, I created my perfect position in this, and I consider myself a sales rep in my own
Yeah.
company, because that's where your heart is. And I think that truly speaks for who your company is. It's really amazing that you do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I love being in the sales piece of the customer because at the end of the day, taking care of our customers is like the best part. So yeah, I sling copiers for a living, right? That's
And where
kind
you
of the
learn
fun.
a lot too. It's
Oh my gosh,
to
you
get
can
better.
learn more over a 3-minute phone conversation than you can learn over any email correspondence and back and forth. And I think they prefer picking up the phone because it's let's just get this handled in 30 seconds or less versus 10 emails back and forth, right? But yeah, I think that's the best part and easiest part. Somebody asked me about that too. They said, why copiers? It was by mistake, right? But I also think that you can find your passion and love for anything in any job that you're working for in any position, right? So when I was in copiers, I loved nonprofits. They get taken advantage of more than any other vertical market.
Mm.
Nonprofits and house of worship, right? It's, oh, I have a friend that takes care of it and a friend over here, and they do it. And then you look at the margins that are put in and it's holy smokes. But my passion is to help people, right? You can do that in any industry. So any industry, I encourage people that if you're an employee or if you're working for somebody else, or it doesn't matter what it is, you can find what you love and incorporate it into your job no matter what your position is. Right? And if your love is to support your local community and do a nonprofit, create it inside of your own team that you work with in your office and say, hey, will you guys join me to do this walk for this
Mm.
nonprofit? There's different ways to incorporate what you love into your job to make it better. We spend most of our day working. You've got to love what you do. And listen, there's nothing sexy or awesome or cool about copiers, but there's something super cool about helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And making sure they don't get stuck into crap contracts, or making sure that if something does happen to their business, that you can be an extension to help them. Right? And how cool is it that I get to introduce people into my network to people like yourself or to other people to help their business grow? Right? What you guys are doing is showing people how to grow their business without. I was the one that started up the business and thought I needed an $80,000 website and all the SEO and all the stuff, right? I thought that was cool, right? Didn't need a single piece of that. But I didn't know better. It would have been cool if somebody was in my network to show me, right? And I think those are the pieces.
Tell the cookie story.
Oh my God.
Because it
So
proves that, like, some people think that when you do networking or build relationships and get customers that you have to spend all this money, and you
you
got
don't.
a customer with 10 locations off of what,
Based on a
10 bucks?
3-pack of cookies. Yeah. Yeah. So a dear friend of mine, Colin Smith, he owns Cravery Cookies in San Diego, and they are really the best cookies, right? I think it even made like Oprah's top 10 list last year of things to have. But anyhow, so I send my business cards. So Cravery Cookies has my business cards on file, and anytime that something happens to one of our customers, or we feel that our vendors are feeling a little sad or they've got a little thing, right? Everybody has the capability to send a note to Cravery Cookies and send cookies, right? So I had been trying to get in with this IT director for years, and I just couldn't, right? There was something in there. I was like, oh, you're great. But he would take my calls and he would humor me, right? But at the end of the day, he wasn't buying from me. And I saw that he was voted for being one of the top IT directors in San Diego. So I didn't send him anything. I sent him a 3-pack of cards and had my business card in it and a note that says, congratulations to you and your team deserved. That's all. Didn't have to sell anything, didn't have to say anything. He knows who I am, right? And even if he didn't, he's going to look me up. The next day after it was delivered, there was a post on LinkedIn of our cookies, the note, and my business card. And then and then he called me 2 weeks later. I got one of his facilities, and now we service 10 of his different facilities
Oh, well,
across the country.
I love that
And it
story.
costs $6.99 for
Mhm.
a 3-pack of cookies.
I love it. I love that story. And so Let's talk about, you're obviously doing this video podcast. You post videos and some content on LinkedIn. What would you say to a founder, a CEO that's, man, I want to do this content thing, but I'm running the business. Do I have time? How can I do both? What would you say?
I would say it's important to do both. And we're all busy. And I fall into this too, right? It's like new employees starting or things going over here. And can I do the training every day? And how do I figure that out? But it's finding a system that worked for you. And my system is really what's the best system for me is on Fridays, I need to put together all of my posts for next week, right? Do it all at once. But if I do an hour and a half block, you guys are incredible. You give instruction, you know how it is that you do it. You can see the recordings because if you can't join every day, but then you take all of that and you do your bookings on Friday for the following week. People can't buy from you and you can't help people if they don't know who you are, right? They just can't. The one thing that helped me get over the videos, I will say at first I was a little nervous about it, but then I wasn't. I created all of our manuals and all of our training videos in our handbook for Office Space. So I was tired of doing the trainings over and over again. So I would just create short videos and I would talk into the camera like somebody was there and I was recording it and doing the whole thing. So then it just became, oh yeah, I've got to do a quick training video. And that's how it was. I just do a quick video on LinkedIn. And for me, don't overdo it. Do it once, twice, max, post it. Who cares? You actually think people care and they don't. Really, at the end of the day, it's, oh, there's Anya again. That's what you want. It's, oh, there's Anya again.
Exactly.
Oh, there's you again. Oh my gosh, there's Anya again, right? It's
She's
all
in the
that
car
yeah.
with her
Do
laptop.
they care it's perfect? No, only you care.
Yeah.
Only you care. And at the end of the day, nobody cares.
Yeah, let's talk about, I know you experienced this for a little bit, where it's like, what shift did you see moving from like a Canva quote or template like that to actually showing up and showing your face and doing more, I would say, free posts, like what happened with your AC, you in the car? What
Yeah.
difference? Because most people think that on LinkedIn, it has to be that static Canva quote or like that flyer.
Mm. Yeah, I think people want to know that they're not alone, right? I don't have it all together. And that's okay, right? I'm not supposed to have it all figured out. I'm supposed to know all the people that can help me figure it out. And that I do know. That part is nailed in through my network. But it's, yeah, so what? My AC gave out when it was 100 degrees outside. How cool is it that we built a company that I can put my monitor in the back seat of the car and my husband can drive and I can be from the front seat and my customers have no idea, right? That's the way. I know there's one thing I'm like, man, if I could call my employees one day, we have our morning huddle meeting at 9:18 every morning. I'm like, God, I can't wait until one day I turn on that call and somebody's going to be sitting on the beach in Fiji, right? That's going to be like, I made it. Somebody that's on the team is kicking it down in Fiji. They're doing their work. They're taking care of their stuff. They don't even need to take 2 weeks vacation time. They can take it if they want, but they're just working and it's just a Tuesday, right? They're in Fiji and they're kicking it and living their best life. That's, for me, that is success, right? That's the you made it part.
Awesome.
I love it. Where can people find you, Anya? So I know
Yeah.
you have a website. What's your website? And then what's the process look like if someone listening wants to become a partner or maybe wants to ask you a couple questions on mentorship side? How can they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our website, which is officespacecopier.com. Also, if you're interested in becoming an IT partner, we actually have a questionnaires where you can register online, and it's called copieritpartners.com. And really, that's because we only partner with IT companies because we don't want to be involved in the IT space. And then also my LinkedIn is Anya Krebs. But really, if you type in Anya Krebs, you'll find me. But gosh, I love people that reach out for any kind of mentorship opportunities, or if you're having business challenges and you need to get out of it somehow, is there somebody in my network that can help? The answer is always yes. And then obviously, if we can help you with any of your office equipment, we service, maintain, and lease equipment all across the country. We're here to help. And really, we're here to answer any questions. I think that's the hard part. And don't be embarrassed to reach out and ask questions. I know that's hard for people, and I'm not sure what that is, but yeah. If there's any information that I have that I already know, I'll give it to you and share it with you and help you on your way.
I love it. And for someone who's dreaming of a business or just starting, and maybe they're like a woman, maybe they whatever. Is it possible for them to build a seven-figure business with the right attitude? What would you say to them?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. Should have started it yesterday, but thank goodness there's an opportunity to do it today. Yes, do it because you can do all of it and you can be the best mom and the best partner and the best all of the things or whatever it is that your life looks like or you want it to look like. Yeah, you get to do it. And then the best part is that you're the one who knows what it should look like and what you want it to look like. You can't do that working for somebody else. And my other thing is that what's the worst that can happen? What's your worst? What's the worst outcome? It doesn't work? So what? Go get a job. Who cares? Keep starting again until you figure it out. You don't need, I'll save you $80,000 on your website. Okay. You can call me first. I'll help you do all of it.
Anya's salty about that $80,000 website that she
I
gave
love it
me.
because it can be used for so many other incredible resources, right? And you put your blood, sweat, tears, everything that you've got into the business, right? In hopes that it works. Well, don't focus so much on all the other things. Focus on taking care of your customer, figure out how to build it, right? Not $30 million companies just don't all of a sudden open up their own business and we're like, oh, we did 30 million this year. Doesn't work that way, right? It walks you in stages. The challenges hits you in stages. In the best growth periods come from the challenges, right? Because the good news is the challenge that I hit a couple of months ago that hurt, well, guess what? It's not going to hit me again. I learned 8 things to do differently and implemented 2 in our business that made our customers happier. It's better, right? That's the fun part. And just do it. Just go do it. But make sure that your friends around you are the right people and the right friends. That's a huge thing. Make sure that they're in your corner. Make sure you've got the friends that you have around you that brag about you when you're not there, right? And that they want to see you to the top. And when you're meeting up with them, yeah, you can meet up with happy hour and yeah, you can do all that other stuff, but make it be productive. What are you doing? What are you working on? How are we going to make it better? Have different conversations and it will change everything.
Yeah. I love that what you said, what's the worst thing that could happen? Because that's the only reason why I left a job and became a freelancer was like the worst thing that could happen was I lose my car, my apartment, I move in with my mom. Like I'm thinking like the absolute worst. And I just get another job. But even worse than that would be going to get a job, never and then every day thinking, but what if I could do it? But what if I could do it? And I was just not willing to live with that. What if? And so I had to get it out of my system. And thank God it worked out. Of course, I did a lot of the work and it hasn't been necessarily easy, but it's been, like you're saying, worth it 100% of the time.
Yeah. And also, in not all businesses, you don't have to go. Like for me, I had to separate in order to start with the Space Copier because I was in a competitive field. But if you're working for somebody else, you can do your side hustle at the same time. There's 24 hours in a day, right? Give it your all to the company that you work for. Give it your all to what it is that you're trying to build. And then once you feel a little more comfortable, then make the jump, right? But make it quickly. Don't give yourself 2 years over here and over here. There's parts of it, but also find who's the best of the best at what it is that you want to build and do. You don't have to like them, but you can respect them and you can figure it out and hang on to them, see if there's any mentorship opportunities, learn everything that you can from them. Because the best thing about learning from mentors is the pieces that you don't want in your business, right? Learn from what those are and then implement it moving forward.
Yeah, and you are great at doing that. I know in our groups you ask the most questions of that is really something that I learned from you. And also just last month you sent someone to me for mentorship in the marketing space. So just the authenticity and how you walk your talk is really great. And I think that's something also IT companies need to keep in mind, that they get that with you. And literally, it's a vetting process when they apply. It's not an automatic yes.
Yeah, and it was great and thank you for speaking with her. The greatest thing is she applied to work for Office Space Copier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
she
awesome.
did. And after talking to her and understanding, I was like, gosh, you're wonderful, but you're not the right fit for us. And I was like, so what do you want to do? And she broke it down for me. I was like, if you go do these top 5 things, book a calendar meeting with me in the next 2 weeks, and I will help you get to where you want to go. And sure enough,
Mm,
she did it. Not
Wow.
everybody
mhm.
does it either.
Yeah,
And
most
when she
people
did it,
probably wouldn't. They'd be like, "Bye, lady."
yeah, most people won't. And I think that's where others lose the opportunity. If somebody says they're going to help you and they ask you to do a couple of things, do it. I've
Yeah.
now had 3
100%.
phone calls with her and narrowing it down where it is that she wants to go and be. And she has meetings with 6 other people in my network now because of that.
Hmm.
And what you gave her was super valuable information to go, gosh, this marketing thing isn't exactly what I thought it was, but she only knows because of her experience or what she's being told or anything else, but she doesn't know what's actually on the ins and outs. So even by you providing her that information, she's one step closer to figuring out what does life look like for her, right? And that's powerful. I think that's cool.
It is, because guess who she will refer to for copier
Right.
service, right? Yeah, for the rest of
Right.
her career. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is so powerful. Even what you just said, you have to do what somebody tells you to do. So many people expect people to become their mentors, but honestly, like the way I've seen it, if you don't take that first gem and go do what they advise, and then you go back and want more, they're not going to give it to you. And I do the same thing when people come to me. If I see that they're doing it, I'll continue to pour back in. But if not, it's just like a waste of your breath. So why focus on people that aren't willing to do the work?
Yeah. And it's hard because I am at the same time, I love my network, but I'm also incredibly protective of my network.
Exactly.
It's like you just don't get into it because you ask. You've got to hit all the other foundation things. The more it just has to match.